Oh yeah, you must be live because you're frozen.
Okay, and it's funny, it freezes as soon as I go live.
It does, yeah. Like
Okay,
can't handle two feeds.
okay, let me set this on live chat. Okay, welcome everybody to the Sin Adventure. I'm James Showers, cleanest name in the biz, and today we're doing episode 1 of Meet Your Maker. Today we have the owner of Malarkys Soap Co. For people that don't know you, who are you? What's your brand, and what kind of products do you offer?
Hey everybody. My name is Andy Burns, and Malarkey Soap Company, and we make basically just good soap for guys.
Awesome. Let's see, we got chat happening here. It looks like it's not popping up. Give me 1 second to make sure I'm get you guys all on here. All right, looks like Doggy Doge is able to say hi here, but we don't have it popping up on the on this other screen here. Let's see, am I doing this right? All right, let's try this one more time here. It's boxed. Okay, and then yeah, that should be good. All right, hopefully this starts popping up here for everybody. We do have on the background a counter of when the new drop is going to be going live. That's what we
Mhm.
have on the background for everybody. Um, so, starting this soap company, have you been able to quit your job and do this full time? And if you haven't, what kind of work do you do?
Well, the first part is hell no. There's just yeah. I mean, I work for the Department of the Navy and the submarine base here in Groton, Connecticut. So yeah, yeah. I was active duty Navy diver for about 10 years. Got out in 2008 and was the worst possible time to get out of military service and look for a job. And so I got stuck here in Connecticut for better and for worse, and ended up working as a civilian on the sub base.
All right. Yeah, I noticed that a lot. There's not much margin in soaps. I feel like it's really been kind of like people's passion or people's hobbies. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
the lucky ones might be able to quit their jobs and do soap full time, but I think you got to kind of to love it to really to do this. As a side project, even.
yeah. I mean, honestly, and I wouldn't even say that they're lucky. A lot of hard freaking work. Um, I mean, John over at TBS is the gold standard for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, with what he does, he's got a solid lineup and he's got magical marketing abilities. And I mean, it's I couldn't imagine doing what he does. Um, I was talking to somebody else today, a fellow maker, talking about making 25, 30 loaves a weekend, and I thought, shoot me now. I mean, there's just there's no way that's going to happen, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so, yeah, I mean, it's a hobby. It's a you do it for because you like doing it, and maybe you make a little bit of cheddar on the side. You probably won't.
Let me get my scent specialist over here. I'm sorry, no one's paying attention to you. Man, people don't understand this, but this bird is a brat. So, all right.
Now I know you got Cuddles. Is that Cuddles or
This one's Cuddles, the African gray, and then we have two other Amazon parrots. One's name's Baby, and the other one's Poco. Baby's back
okay?
here on her cage, and Poco's over here by the window right now. But they're
Okay.
uh, they're more chill. The African gray is a needy little bird. She'll probably peck my hand during this whole interview now. So, all
You
right,
gotta take a bird break. Just let me know, man. I got all night.
all right. So outside of body care, what kind of like collections or hobbies or interests do you have?
Um, I've had a lot over the years, but I just had my first daughter 3 years ago, and honestly, I go to work my day job, come home, got about an hour to myself. Then, my daughter comes home, and it's full court press with her until she goes to bed, and then I make soap, or deodorant, or market, or do what I do on Facebook to try to create a presence. So I wish I could tell you I had an exciting life outside of that. I've had a lot of hobbies over the years, and a lot of them I wish I could revisit again, but I just don't see the time right now.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, man. I used to do a lot of like outdoor stuff, and I noticed I've even just like cut back on that even. So,
Life happens, dude.
yeah.
You gotta have some grace with yourself. It's okay. Life happens.
So I like the name Malarkey. I think it's pretty fun. Is there a story behind this brand name at all?
Yeah, actually, it's there's a couple different layers to the story. Way back before I started, making soap as a hobby, my brothers and my mother were, as most families do, have a group text thread, right? And I forget what the context of it was, but my middle brother said something about that's a bunch of malarkey. And I think he was making fun of a certain commander in chief that we share.
Okay.
But it just kind of stuck with me. And when I decided I was gonna, try to sell off some of the soap that I was making, I had a list of names. Some of them were just absolutely bonkers, stupid. But Malarkey's always stuck, mostly because my brother had said it, as a joke in a chat. Um, and then I misspelled it. I misspelled it when I went to go file the LLC with the state. So generally, there's an E in Malarkey's.
Yeah.
And when I got the paperwork back from the state, I thought, oh, shit. I completely dropped the ball on that. And I didn't know what to do. I ended up leaving it. And now it actually kind of works out, because if you put Malarkey in a Google search with the spelling for, the company, it's the first thing that comes up. So it doesn't get, convoluted with all the other different malarkey names. So it actually kind of worked out in my favor, provided people, know the correct spelling of it when they go to look for it.
Yeah. So it was kind of one of those good accidents, pretty much.
Yeah, happy accident.
Yeah, it definitely kind of sets the name apart, I think, too. Just to let the viewers know, we are going to do some viewer questions towards the end of this interview. So I see all your chats happening over here. Go ahead and ask what you want, and we'll get to you guys here in a minute, just so you know. Um, so, what kind of process do you got going into creating or choosing the scents that you're going to be using for your products? Is there like something that you do, or some kind
You
of magic
know,
happening there?
I think it's different every time. Um, it's almost like when you ask somebody, what their inspiration to create something is, they're going to give you, if they've created 1,000 different things, there's 1,000 different inspirations. I There's a couple things that I stumbled into that just happened to be, really good. Fields of Bahala, I had that fragrance kicking around for probably 8 months, could not get it to work in soap, and I decided I was going to actually kind of step out of the game, and I just wanted to burn up some of my materials, so I figured out a way to use that fragrance, and it worked. And then it turned out to be, my most popular soap.
Yeah,
Um, but other ones, like, I knew that I wanted to do a tobacco series. Um, so I put together Tobacco Vanilla and Tobacco Cerise. Someone else had mentioned to me how much they loved a certain chocolate milk flavored scent from another company. And I thought, that sounds like fun. I don't really have any other ideas. Let me see if I can't chase down some chocolate, or hot chocolate or chocolate milk scented fragrance, and see what I could do with it. And that just led to, well, maybe I could do that. And let's do a maple cookie butter, let's do a cinnamon roll, let's do, and they just kind of kept coming. So I said, well, I guess I'm doing a whole dessert series now. So I mean, for every one that I do, it's the inspiration can come from any direction, any source. Um, and I know sooner or later the well's going to dry up and I'm going to be hurting. So
Yeah. So that's what you got going on right now is like this dessert launch, basically, right?
yes,
Like kind of a
yes,
gourmandy dessert happening.
yes.
Fields of Valhalla, that is getting restocked this go around too, or is that going to be later? You think?
Just the deodorant,
Okay.
just
That,
the deodorant. I realized that, although I've got, all these, amazing gourmand scents, I don't know how many people want to walk around smelling like hot chocolate for a deodorant,
yeah.
or cinnamon buns. So I realized that, for my deodorant stock, I was going to have to go with the standard lineup, but I wanted to do something a little bit different, to make it stand out, to give it a little bit of flair. And I didn't really know what to do. I just released Fireside back in October, so I didn't want to re-release that too soon.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, everybody loves Fields of Valhalla, let's do it. So I just cranked them out.
Nice. Fields of Valhalla is actually one of my favorite scents from you. It's
Is
not
it?
like, that mint isn't too much. I have that deodorant and I probably use that more than any of my other deodorants to be honest. So
I'm wearing that now.
it's a
Yeah,
great one, man. It's perfect. Even in the winter, but I think this summer it's gonna be awesome because it does have that slight cooling effect. So
just a little bit, right? It's
yeah,
not like it's not too much. It's not like, oh shit, but it's like, it's there.
yeah. But I think you're definitely correct. Most people, or at least most men out there, don't want to smell like marshmallows and hot chocolate.
Yeah,
But a couple of us kind of chuckle a little bit because there are some guys out there that really like these sweeter scents,
they
and
do.
we're like, it's just kind of a little joke in the community. But yeah, let's move on to so what actually started your body care soap making journey?
Whew. So one of the guys I work with, Josh, who's the namesake for JMO's Bougie Blend, if you know that soap from my original lineup,
Yep.
um, he had a subscription to Squatch, and he came in one day with a shopping bag just full of Squatch, and he's like, "I screwed up my membership, or my subscription." I don't know what I did, but I've got like a ton of Squatch that I'll never use. And he literally just threw it on the table. And we went after it. We didn't, I didn't know anything about Squatch, and neither did the other guys really. And we just kind of started picking through it. I got a couple bars that sounded, eh. So I took them home. I'm like, this shit's awful, but I really love the idea. So then I started kind of chasing it. And from there, I thought, well, if I do some Google searches for some other companies, maybe some other stuff will come up. Maybe Squatch is just, the only name. But at this point, I had no idea about any of the soap groups, no idea about any other company. All I knew is like Dr. Squatch made natural soap for men, and that was the only name I knew. I stumbled across Sudsy Bear, tried a couple of theirs. I was like, okay, there's levels to this game. Sudsy Bear, I thought, was a fair step up from Squatch. And then I found another company called Bearsville. Tried theirs. I thought, I like this even better. All right. And I thought, I like this so much, I think I want to try it. I want to see, how hard could it be to make soap? And whether they admit it or not, most people in this game that make soap learn how to make soap off of YouTube. And so did I. So, I just started YouTubing my ass off. I think I threw my algorithm off for about a year and a half with so many soap videos. And I taught myself how to make soap. Sooner or later, I was drowning in it.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe I ought to pick like 8 or 9 of them, think of a company name, and see what I can do. Again, still not involved in any of the soap Facebook groups or anything. I had no idea. It was just this wild ass thing I decided to do. And then Malarkys was born.
Nice. Um, were you a part of the soap making dudes Facebook group?
Yes.
Okay. I think I remember you before you launched. I think you were kind of in there and mentioning some stuff, and I think that's kind of cool because a lot of soap makers are female, which is
Yeah.
great, but there's a small percentage that are men. So having that like male-based soap makers group is kind of cool, you know?
Yeah. I found that and I was like, wow, okay, so I'm not a total weirdo.
Yeah,
Like this is a thing. Like guys can make soap too. It doesn't have to be this girl's thing, right? So,
yeah,
and I found it. Now the group isn't real active,
yep,
but I scraped off some knowledge, especially when you're a novice. There's always something to be learned, and I learned a few things
yep.
for sure.
Bros supporting bros. So I noticed,
Yeah,
it
why
gives some
not?
tips and stuff in there, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
It's not too active,
okay.
but it's good for soap makers if you're trying to jump
Yeah.
into it. So, if you were to start over right now, like
Mm.
what would you have done differently, or what would you do differently?
Man, I don't know. I got to tell you, I made a lot of mistakes for sure. Um, I think the thing I would have done the best was taken a little bit more time to refine my recipe, to refine, not refine, but to find the more premium um, sources for fragrance, whether it be essential oils or fragrance oils or whatever. There's a lot of places to get that stuff, and I got to tell you, 95% of them are absolute garbage.
Yeah, I
uh,
agree.
and and you don't really know until you start using them, and then you don't even know they're garbage until you stumble across the good stuff. You're like, oh no, like this is way better. What have I been doing? So I think that the lesson there for me was I just would have taken a little bit more time to fine tune the recipe and to source the best ingredients.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And what's crazy too that the rabbit hole of fragrance oils is deep. And
Yeah,
when
it
you
is.
start like peeling back some of the layers, a lot of these companies are reselling other companies' fragrance oils. So you could
They
go
are.
to like 4 or 5 different sites and literally be buying the same fragrance oil. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's pretty crazy, and
Yep.
and you're right about the quality. Some of them are just super cheap. You get it, you're like, oh, this sounds great, and you get it in, and you're like, what the hell is this? It gives you a
Right.
headache, and like, who wants to smell this? But people are putting that in their soaps, man, and I think when
Yeah.
you're inexperienced or you're just getting into it, um, those don't smell too bad to some people. So
Then you find ones like Fields of Valhalla,
yeah,
which obviously I'm renaming, right? But I stumbled across Fields of Valhalla and I loved it. But you know what? Every time I put it in my standard cold process soap recipe, it seized my soap. I
yeah,
think I wasted 4 or 5 pounds of soap just trying to get that stuff to work.
damn.
So, and that's a real kick in the shorts too, when you find something that's really good and it just does not work.
Yeah, not only set you back, but I mean, that's money wasted. And
Yeah.
when you're a small soap maker, small business, every little bit of revenue counts.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
for sure.
So, what kind of milestones or like moments of success have you had that like really stick out to you so far?
Starting the company for sure. Finding the soap groups, finding that I've always had a philosophy of, and it sounds stupid, but I'll say it anyway. A rising tide lifts all the ships, right? But finding the community and finding that there are other soap makers that are not only just nice people, but willing to help any way they can. So that was a big one. Um, and then launching my first ever um, limited edition Fireside. And I put a lot of work into Fireside, and I had never launched a limited edition before. I didn't know how many more of it I needed to make and what the demand for it was going to be. I had no idea, and everybody loved it. And I thought, well, this is a good thing. people are really paying attention, and maybe they'll discover the bourbon woods and the oak moss and amber and my hickory and suede because they all want the fireside, and that's just kind of like what gets you in the front door.
Yeah.
So not that fireside isn't good; it's definitely one of my best. But yeah, and then just coming across these really unique, limited edition type efforts, and that people really fall in love with as much as I do, like that brings a synergy to my relationship with the customers that I really can't put into words. It just feels good. The money aside, I don't, it's nothing to me. It's the fact that I've made something that people love,
Yeah.
and that really sticks with you.
That's good. A little side note on that fireside, bro. The bars looked super cool too. Those first releases, like the swirls and stuff, you kind of had like this cool like fire slash little like devil demon looking thing happening, and I think I, something about that really called to people. I think as well. Um,
Yeah, that was a song that wrote itself, just about. I mean, it's just I was a man possessed when I was going down that road.
nice. So was there any kind of like learning curve or skills that you needed to learn starting to run this business and getting everything launched that you didn't really have before started making soaps?
Well, let's be really honest with each other. I still lack in a lot of them. Like I don't know how many I've actually picked up and learned. Self marketing sucks, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon. Um, but um, but yeah, I mean, just getting better at making the soap and making it in larger quantities. So I'm not, I used to make one loaf a night, and it would be like an hour and a half for me to
Jeez.
do it. And a loaf, my molds were 20 bar loaves. So, you do the math on that. So just learning how to scale up, and without scaling up without buying giant unnecessary pieces of equipment and stuff, right? Scaling up within my own kitchen, but still being able to kick out 50 plus bars a night rather than 20. Um, and then, like I said, the self promotion, self marketing thing, I think I'm better at it than I was, but I'm still terrible. It's not getting better.
Are you doing all the website stuff yourself? Are you
Oh
doing
yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So you had to learn how to kind of like maneuver all that as well, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Shopify ate me up for about a month.
Yeah. It's kind of fun once you figured it out, but yeah, I still rack my brain with that.
Oh, you figure it out and you got everything done and you manage to write some code and you start feeling good about yourself, and then they release a new version and your code won't work. So you got to go and relearn everything.
Yeah.
It sucks, man.
Yeah, so let's see, where am I at with this? What kind of process do you use to create or add or test products before you even release them?
Um, the guys I work with are my biggest guinea pigs. I mean, for better and for worse. Um, I had a, I had about 5 bars of the Black Irish, from this last go around. It hasn't gone up for sale yet, but they just looked bad. Like I just didn't like the way they looked. And I brought them into work, and I was like, "Here, and they were like, "Oh shit." One guy keeps one in his truck. He doesn't even use it. He just keeps it in his truck because he likes the way it smells. Because every
Nice.
once in a while he goes nose blind to it and he shaves a little bit off with his knife and then refreshes it. And yeah, and when it comes to the new stuff, I'll start testing it out. I'll start balancing fragrance oils and trying to come up with the right concoction. And I'll do like a little 1 pound pour of soap just so I don't waste too much material. And I'll bring them in, the next day, 2 days later into work, and just kind of pass them around. What do you think? I mean, we're all 35 plus, ex, Navy, all retired, active duty military. So they're all like me, and they're all straight shooters. If
Yeah.
something sucks, they're going to tell me. And, you know, I just keep going.
That's almost kind of how you want it, Don't sugarcoat it. Just let me know if this stuff sucks. I gotta,
Yeah.
hit the drawing board again.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. Just let me know. I mean, it's yeah, and a lot of times, I mean, I've got like 7 or 8 guys that I do this with, and it's very rare that everybody's in agreement. Um, Oddly enough, they all love the Black Irish, but like I brought in, I think, Tabac Cerise, and it was split right down the middle, and I was like, well, I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah, I think that was actually a good one. I like that one.
Thanks, man.
Um, so, what kind of products, scents, or decisions that you've made do you consider like failures so far, and what are they?
Don't put coffee grounds in your soap. It sounds like a great idea until you got coffee grounds in the crack of your ass that you're finding halfway through your workday. Um, Let me see. What else? Don't rush it, and have a I would say just you don't rush it, and make sure that you got a quality, honest group of people that are going to tell you if something sucks, something doesn't. I mean, you can't put a price on that.
Nice. Yeah. So, what kind of goals or ambitions do you have set for the brand right now?
Well, I have a dollar value in mind. And it's not like an exit value or anything like that. I was really close to quitting back in like June of last year, right before I, figured out Fields of Valhalla. Um, Fields of Valhalla hit, everybody loved it, and then I kind of retooled how I did everything and started doing the whole like, restock cycle or, the drops. I know some people really hate them. I get it. I wouldn't want to be that, a customer that's always waiting for the next drop.
Yeah.
I totally get it. But on the other hand, I need my sanity. I go hard press and try to make as much as I can, and then advertise it. And I give myself a break. That's the most important part. I think is I'm able to come up with the new stuff. Kind of conceptualize you know, um, and try to formulate, bring it in, fail, go back to the drawing board. I do all of that R&D work without the pressure of, I got to make more hickory suede this weekend. I got 3, 4, 5 orders tonight. I got to fill. How am I going to do X, Y, and Z? Oh, my daughter needs to go to bed. Oh, you know what I mean? Like just trying to juggle all those chainsaws at once. It really got to a point where like I don't know how I'm going to be able to continue R&Ding new and exciting things and following my own passion when I can barely keep up with the status quo. So that's kind of when I went back to, well, what do I need to do to just keep the proverbial doors open? And that's when I decided, you know what? It's my business. It doesn't have to be run in a traditional way. I put my heart and my soul into my products. And when I have them, I have them. If they want them, they'll buy them. And if they don't, then I'll go out of business, and that's that. But so far, it's been it's done pretty well. And like I said, I've got a number value in mind, kind of like a soft goal I want to get to, and it's getting there.
So, you mentioned earlier when we were talking, this is going to be like your biggest restock that you've done so far. Is that what you're planning here on this one?
It's not the biggest restock because I really only made bourbon wood and hickory and suede from my standard lineup, but it is the most ambitious effort in that I have created five new scents. Um, I've got the cozy hot cocoa and maple cookie butter, the black Irish, this is like a coffee Irish cream. It's almost got like a hint of chocolate in it too. I actually have this in my shower right now. This is the one that I was telling you about. That dude has it in his truck, and he just kind of keeps shaving it off to keep the smell going. This
Yeah.
stuff smells. I mean, I can smell it right here, and it's ridiculous. Um, Cinnamon buns, and then one that I didn't expect, but I rolled with anyway. Oatmeal stout. I just loved the way it smelled, and I wanted to experiment using hops as like an exfoliant,
Yeah.
although it's not really going to be an exfoliant. They almost dissolved, but I guess hops is still good for your skin.
Yeah. It's in there.
So yeah, I mean, it's really ambitious. 5 different scents. I mean, the likelihood of coming out with one or two new ones and having it be successful, or you're taking a chance. Coming out with five,
Yeah.
let me tell you what, man.
Yeah, it's quite a bit to quite a bite to take off there. You
Yeah,
know, I see that a lot in the groups because I suggest your brand quite a bit. I like,
you do.
the soaps. I like the deodorants. And a lot of people will come back. Well, it's always sold out. Or I went there and it's sold out. And I think people are so used to going to brands that either have third-party manufacturers that can supply most of their products, right? Or they have a full crew that is dedicated to making the products. They don't realize you're doing this on the side. You're a one
Mhm.
man doing all of the stuff, right? Like you said,
All of it.
marketing, the
Yeah.
website, the scent design, the products, the pouring, and then you're managing your work life, your family life in there too. Um, I like to see
Managing is a loose word.
barely making it, but
I'm hanging on by my fingernails, brother, and that's
yeah,
on a good day.
yeah. So I always try to tell them, that to touch back or check out your when you are doing your drops because I don't know. I think it's kind of nice to actually support smaller soap makers like you because you just don't have that backing that a lot of these other bigger brands have, and people just don't understand that. So I'm glad that there are customers out there that are willing to wait for things to be restocked.
Mm.
And I think Dino's in the comments down here, and I think he buys quite a bit. He grabs some. I always see his little
Dino is a loyal
orders.
customer. I love Dino.
He's a great dude. Um,
Yeah.
so if you were going to give some advice to somebody else that's like looking to start a brand or is in the middle of starting a brand, like what kind of advice would you be giving them to get going or to stay with it?
Start small, for sure. Don't waste a lot of materials on, 4 pounds, you know, pours. Do it like a pound at a time. Because no matter how good you think your first recipe is, it sucks and it's going to change. It's going to evolve and you're going to get better. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there. Um, there's, I won't say that there's a lot of bad information because certainly any information is good information, but I found that there is definitely a subset of people that are terrified of not wearing like giant pieces of PPE when you're handling a lye, or you know the state regulations. Not that I don't want to follow those things, but you can't get into a comment section on on a Facebook group or whatever without somebody chiming in. Check with your local state regulations and IFRA standards and this and that and that and this, and you just kind of have to, people by way of their own neuroses can kind of deter you from following your gut and just experimenting. So I would say just start small. Don't be scared. Buy the right tools, and don't ever think that you've nailed it, because you didn't.
Yeah, that's actually good advice. Um, like you mentioned just a minute ago about you were at maybe like a breaking point in this journey where you were like, look, I'm just going to hang up the hat, just too much to really deal with. Um,
Yeah.
what about people maybe in that position? They've been grinding. Eh, I mean, is there something that like really kept you going? That
So I would say, well, for and I guess this applies for what kept me going, and the advice I would give somebody else: step back, recognize it's your business. You don't have to run it in the way that you have seen it traditionally be run, especially if you have a life and this is your hobby. Don't be a slave to the business model that you think you have to have, or that somebody in a Facebook group tells you they prefer. Do what you want to do, because ultimately, if your heart's not in your product is going to suck. So just put your heart into it and do it the way you want to do it. And that's kind of what happened, when I was ready to kind of hang it up. I just didn't feel that I had the latitude to do the R&D that I wanted to do. And I was selling, but I wasn't selling like TBS sells or Squatch sells or whatever. But I was pretty regular. It was enough where it impeded the actual R&D process. It impeded, when I needed to make soap to restock inventory. It impeded maybe putting my daughter to bed. It's just, everything just kind of was happening at once, and you never really could tell what was going to pop off, whether I was going to have 7 orders, 17 orders, or I was going to have to make 4 loaves of soap or whatever.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where I was like, you know what? I just want this to go away. I'm going to let my inventory go down to zero, which is what I did. And then I thought, you know what? My inventory is at zero, so I don't have any more orders coming in. I just won't make any more soap. I won't make any more hickory and suede. I won't make any more bourbon wood. No more JMO's bougie blend. I'm just gonna see. Frankly, I'm gonna see if I make this Fields of Bahala work,
Yeah.
and I did. And then, of course, that kickstarted everything else. I'm like, oh, I don't have to keep things in stock all the time. I don't have to follow the same pattern that all of the other companies follow. Um, as much as everybody gives, Jay's a bunch of crap for, their drops. I'm like, you know what? There's something to that. That guy gets to take X amount of months off, regroup, collect his thoughts, and think about what's next.
Yeah.
And that matters.
Yeah. And he does a lot of pre-orders for that too, which is pretty crazy, you know.
Yeah. I mean, look, we all have our own ways. I don't like pre-orders. I've done them before. I don't really like them, but that's just because that's my own little isms. I don't like having a bunch of orders hanging over my head that I have to fulfill. I like having the stock on the shelf where, if somebody pulls an order, I believe that if someone gives me their money, I owe them something, and I want that crap out the door yesterday. So, but I mean, to each their own.
Um, so see, we got a few more questions here, and then we're going to take some viewer questions here. For anyone who hasn't tried your brand or any of your products, like what makes them special or worth purchasing for a new customer?
Well, I'm not afraid to experiment with anything that I have at my disposal that's skin safe to try to make the most unique, the best scent possible. Um, I don't ever put something out that I don't feel has been tested. And believe me, again, I got a bunch of retired active duty military guys that tell me if something sucks. So you know that it's been through some tough critiques. Um, and I really try hard to source my fragrances, my essential oils from the best suppliers that I can. And that's, a learned thing. You don't just enter the game and knowing who the best is. You're just not going to. So, you know, I like to take something like Fireside. We'll just take Fireside for an example. I know that everybody and their brother does a Fireside. Hell, if I wanted to buy a fragrance oil that said Fireside, I could probably find half dozen of them.
Yeah.
And there's probably a half dozen other companies that use that fragrance oil, pour a brick, call it Fireside, call it a limited edition, and there it goes. I didn't want to do that. I took a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Hell, there was a period of time when I was R&Ding Fireside that I actually put liquid smoke in it. And for those of you that don't know, it's smoke I'm sorry, it's water that's been injected with smoke that people use to flavor meats and stuff. So I didn't know if that was going to be skin safe in the end. I didn't know if that was going to cause problems with my soap, so I didn't continue. But that's kind of like where I go with things. If it's skin safe and it's going to create a unique scent, I'm trying it. So, I think my end products, speak to that.
Yeah, I think like maybe about a year ago, you sent us a sample before Fireside came out, and you
Oh
I think you
yeah,
even had like some tea that you were going to
I
add to
did.
that batch.
Lapsang tea.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
freaking love that scent, man. And I remember asking you about it, and you were saying that you went through so many trials and errors. Like that was just like one of the batches. You're like, I don't even know what's up with that batch. I don't know which one
Yeah.
you got. But yeah, and even then I was like, what the hell is this stuff in the bag? You know? And they're
Yeah.
oh, it's the tea. Okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of cool, man. Putting quality first, trial and error, and making sure you're actually putting out the best product that you can stand behind. Right.
I try.
So we've touched base on a few different things. Is there anything that we haven't brought up about you, your brand, or any of your products that maybe you'd like to mention before we jump into the viewer questions?
Um, well, everybody knows I've been kind of playing around with, the look of the box. I hope everybody likes it. I did kind of create a new box, a new look. I went with the black box, of course, without a viewing window on it. And that was because I kind of wanted the boxes themselves to retain more of the scent. Um, a lot of times people will buy, three, four, five different bars and they put them all in the same white box to ship. And the scents kind of all end up mixing together a little bit, at least when you first open it. It sure it smells great, but it doesn't smell like any one thing. And I didn't really like that. So I went with the black box without the viewing window or the scent preview, whatever you call it, the cutout.
Yeah.
And then, I figured, with the success of the limited edition, this is a little bit more money to work with. I upgraded my labels. These actually cost twice as much as my old labels. So I went and bought some craft labels. I just think they look a little bit better now. I mean, the other ones didn't look bad. They were just a little bit more craft-y, like, hobbyish.
Yeah.
And I think these are a little bit more, just a little bit more higher quality. Um, and with this release, the first people that actually, put their orders in are going to get one of two samples. One of them is like a cinnamon clove type thing. That smells really good actually. And this other one, man, I love this one. This is complicated. This was kind of like mint wood spice complicated. It doesn't smell the same. This one is like a smoky oud with bourbon.
Ooh.
Now, a lot of times people will say, or will have soaps and will say it, bourbon flavor, bourbon this, bourbon that, whatever. And really, what it is just a giant hit of vanilla or vanilla and and
Yeah.
some derivative of vanilla, and they call it like a boozy smell. This smells like a damn glass of bourbon with somebody put some smoky oud in it.
Nice.
It's definitely. I made a mess out of making the sample loaf last night, and my kitchen still smells like this shit.
And I definitely agree with you. I've gotten quite a bit of fragrance oils that were bourbon, looking for like this actual alcoholic scent, and they
Yeah,
are very vanilla forward. So
yeah, yeah.
John is saying vanilla and oak down here. I don't know if that's
Oh,
the mix or whatever. Um, John's pretty good with scents, that's for sure. So
is that John Larkin, or do we know
John Harper.
Harper? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, John, what's going on, man? All these people in the chat. I'm like, oh man, I've got like mile long text threads with all these people. This is amazing. Like, you
Yeah,
can finally
these
actually see my face.
some great dudes, man. I'm glad these guys jumped on for
Oh
today's
yeah.
live. This video will stay as a regular video, so anyone watching this in the future that's not live, go ahead and leave your comment and all that good stuff. Definitely check out Malarkys. So I'm kind of done with my little questionnaire right here. This was our first go. If anyone's watching this in the future, even right now, let me know how we can upgrade the questionnaire for upcoming brands and makers. But do you guys have any questions for Malarkey Soap Co. right now that he can answer? And
Yeah, hit me with them, guys.
while they're typing that out, let's talk about this new release. So
Oh yeah.
6 days is kind of when it's coming out, correct?
Yeah. Friday, 7:30 Eastern. I try to make it. I always make it on a Friday. It's just, I don't know. I'm no marketing genius, but I figure it's better to have a new release on the day that some people get paid. Most people get paid, so I try to do it on Friday, and then I try to do it at 7:30 Eastern, so that way I'm able to hit the Pacific coasters too, like yourself, James. I mean, 4:30 rolls around. Hopefully, you're just getting out of work.
Yep.
You got a little bit of time. Maybe you're sitting in your truck waiting, before you roll out home. Hit my website up and I'm live. So, so far that's worked out pretty well. But yeah,
So I'm gonna read this little thing you got here on this Malarkey's Facebook group, and anyone jumping on this video, if you haven't already, join this Malarkey's Facebook group so you can stay updated on when he is doing restocks and updates. If you want to try his products in the future, and you see the sold out sign, support a hard working man, because I think that's kind of like the biggest thing in these soap groups, and at least on this channel, is to kind of support small makers. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here. But it looks like you've got, for at least the dessert scents here, like you already said, you got that hot or cozy hot cocoa, the maple
Yeah.
cookie butter, and then
Yep.
you got that black Irish, the cinnamon bun,
Yeah.
and then the oatmeal stout. And then
Yep.
you're also going to be restocking the hickory suede soap and the DO, the bourbon
Yep.
wood soap and the DO,
Yep.
oak moss and amber, the DO only,
Yep.
whiskey tango, DO only, and then you got easy breezy, DO only. Oh,
Yep.
and then it says you are going to be doing the Fields of Valhalla here too. So yeah, that is quite the stock here. Um, I love your DOs, man. I think they're pretty
Thanks, man.
nice, softer than some of the other natural DOs out there, and
Yeah.
that works better for me personally. But
That's a catch-22, man. So sorry to interrupt you, but I'll talk about the DOs for a second if you're all right.
yeah,
So I think I went through 14 different versions, something like that. And that's not even really honest because I've been changing it as I went along too. Um, but there there was at one point where they were almost black because I was using so much activated charcoal. I thought that maybe that was going to be my winning ingredient. But you don't know unless you try, right? No, that did not. That was not a winning ingredient. It's good to have in there, but it's not going to be your biggest deodorant, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, it is a little bit softer. I'm playing with it to try to make it just a little bit harder, not much, like 1%, nothing that anybody would really notice too much. But that actually, it's funny. You can talk to Tim, from Valhalla about this. He picked up some of my DOs and I sent them out to Arizona, and this shit was in the dead of summer. And as you can imagine, sitting in a mail truck in Arizona in July or August or
yeah.
whenever it was, it might have even been September. Who cares? It's freaking Arizona. So we're talking 120, 130, 140 degrees sitting in a mail truck. He sent me a picture of the DOs, and I hadn't been smart enough to pack them upside down. So I packed them all right side up. He opened them up and they had just completely liquefied and fallen out. And it
Oh
was
man,
it was this disaster on him. I was like, I felt so bad. I just refunded all of his money right away.
yeah,
But lesson learned. It's nice to have the DOs that are a little bit softer, but don't send them to Phoenix because,
yeah,
and especially don't send them to Phoenix in July because they're not going to hold up.
yeah. Tim's a great dude, by the way. He's one of
Yeah.
those soap makers that I definitely enjoy.
Oh yeah, he's one of my favorites. He's a great dude. All the soap makers. I mean, I won't say all of them. 99% of all the soap makers, that we have here in the groups are just absolutely amazing. I can't say enough good things. I mean, Diane from, Mountain Goat Soap,
Yep.
when I have a stupid soap question, she she helps me. I've even gone so far that woman knows my recipe. I've
Oh,
sent her pictures of my recipe before saying, "Help me."
yeah,
And I mean, come on, you don't get much more genuine than that. That's just awesome people.
yeah. I mean, they're not out there trying to punch down on their competition,
No,
because
no,
we're all in this together, really, right? You guys are soap makers. You're all small businesses, and I mean, there's no reason to beat up on one guy just to try to elevate your brand. So,
yeah,
hey, here's a
yeah,
question.
yeah. Hit me.
When you are doing your scents, mixing and stuff, do you measure out your ingredients? Like, do you measure out your scents and kind of have like an idea of like the formula you're using, like to recreate or?
How do you mean? Like when I'm R&Ding what my scent profile is going to be in the end?
Well, it's kind of like a little troll joke here because John and I were watching a video of somebody that was just like randomly mixing fragrance oils together. But
Sounds like a waste of money to me, but all right.
yeah, but I mean, like, say you're gonna recreate one soap, and
Okay.
do you have that recipe, like, for like
Oh yeah.
how much weight or drops or whatever of each fragrance oil you add to make it?
Yeah, 100%. There's a couple different ways to do it. I'll tell you right from the start, I've got little 4 ounce ball jars, with a cap on them. And when I'm starting my R&D process, I have a bag of plastic pipettes, probably like 500 of them, cost me like $5 from Brambleberry or wherever.
Yeah.
And I'll take my scents, I'll rip off a little section of paper towel and I stuff it in the ball jar. And then I start putting drops on the paper towel. I've got 2 drops of cedar and I want 2 drops of bergamot. Let's see what they smell like together. And I smell them and I put the lid on. I'll walk away 10, 15 minutes. I'll come back to it. All right, I think I need a little bit more cedar and I'll put another drop. So now I'm at 3, 2. And I'll just continue on like that until I get the fragrance that I want. And then I'll figure, okay, how do I make this a ratio? I've got my total fragrance load for the batch of soap, and I know that I've got a 3-2 ratio of cedar to bergamot. How does that transfer to my total fragrance load? So I do that math calculation and then I just pre-mix it.
Okay. So yeah, that I mean that's what we kind of figured, but
Yeah.
just kind of getting some reassurance here. Let me jump through some of the questions. So, Mr. Sandman out here is asking, have you looked at expanding into more products like lotions, body butters? I mean, maybe even like beard products, maybe?
I get that all the time, man. When I expanded into deodorant, um, it was a huge chunk. I think I've got like PTSD from it. Not to like make light of PTSD, but like every time I think about R&Ding a new product, oh shit, like what's that going to take, right? Because I just spent so long on the deodorant and screwed it up so many times before I kind of hit the right one. And I'm proud. I'm proud of the end product. I think it's probably even above our soap, the best product I have. But I've looked into body butters, I've looked into the lotions and all that, and I do have an interest. I just haven't got to the point where I've actually started because you got to learn all this stuff from scratch, right? Like, it's like say I walk away from this desk today and say, you know what, I'm going to make a hickory and sweet body butter. You're not going to see that for like 6 months because I got to learn how to make it. I got to learn whether or not it's going to be water based or oil based, and if it's water based, how am I going to make it stable so that I'm not going to get any type of rancidity. There's just so much, and then I'm next thing I'm going down that rabbit hole, and I'm not R&D in maple cookie butter. So, I kind of have to decide where my time goes.
All right, let me see if I can find another one here. I just got mauled by my damn bird.
Kind of saw that.
Yeah, she normally doesn't do that, but man, sometimes she just gets a little attitude. Why do you think scent creation is the hardest part we're seeing there?
Yeah. For me, scent creation is the hardest part because you don't want to do the same thing everybody else is doing. I go back to fireside. I mean, everybody and their brother has got a cheap fireside fragrance, and I don't want to do that. I want something different. Call it ego, call it autism, whatever you want to call it. I just don't want to do the same thing everybody else does and say, look what I have that's so special. It's not. It's the same crap everybody else is hawking. Just because I might say it's special or I might create a special, label for it or social media profile for it, it doesn't mean it's special. I really want my scents to be different. So I'll take a concept of fireside, and I start from there. The word fireside. What does a fireside smell like to me? And then I kind of build up from that. So that's what takes so long because I start with those little 4 ounce ball jars and a plastic pipette, and I'm putting single drops on that napkin in the 4 ounce ball jar. So it just takes a long time. And then let me tell you what, I've got probably 2 dozen ball jars filled with napkins and scent profile combinations that just weren't quite good enough, and I just gave up on. So I mean that happens.
Yeah. Um, what do you feel is your most popular, like 2 or 3 scents that you have?
Hickory suede for right off the bat. It's and for good reason. I mean, it was one of those things that just kind of came down to me out of the sky, and and then there it is, and everybody like hell, I love it. my girlfriend doesn't let me wear any other type of deodorant in the house except for hickory and suede. So, there's that. Bourbon wood is another good one. And honestly, I've heard lately oak moss and ambers are dark horse. So, it, yeah, I'd say those three are probably my top three. I think Whiskey Tango should be up there too, because that's a really nice barbershop-y kind of powdery, but not feminine powdery scent.
Yeah.
Frankly, I don't think Whiskey Tango gets the love that it deserves, but you know, who am I?
I think you touched base on this earlier in the video, but Keith is asking what inspired you to do the dessert scents this go around.
So a friend of mine, uh, we'll call him Josh. A friend of mine had said that there was a certain maker that made a certain, I don't know if it was a hot chocolate or chocolate milk type scent. It wasn't Squatch. That he couldn't get his hands on anymore, and he really missed it. And I didn't have any good ideas for what my next rotation would be. It also just so happens I had found a new premium fragrance oil provider. So I thought, well, I'm going to see what this company has in the line of chocolate. Turns out they had this amazing dark chocolate cacao type scent. And I thought, I'm going to do something with this because this is just too damn good. So I combined it with some marshmallow and got my levels right again with the help of the guys that I work with, and just started going from there. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to keep going down this hole, and let's see what maple cookie butter. So there was a maple fragrance oil and a cookie butter fragrance oil. And I said, okay, let's see what these levels look like. And I just, like I said, once I started, I was like, well, I guess I'm just doing a whole dessert line, so I can't stop at two. So I just kept going.
All right. Scanning through here, see if I can find another question. Does anyone else have any questions for Malarkys before we end up wrapping up this stream? Um, is there anything else you want to mention before we end up wrapping this stream up here?
I just want to give a shout out to honestly, all the other soap makers that are just good people. And I don't mean, people that, say cool things and, make you think they're cool from the outside looking in. I mean, guys that are like really cool, guys like John over at the Black Stuff. When I first started, I had no idea who he was. He was in I think it was Soap Making Dudes, actually. And he was helping me write lines of code for, my Shopify. So right from the jump, I've had nothing but amazing people. Tim at Valhalla, good, what a friggin' great guy.
Yeah.
Just a really genuinely nice dude. And then you got Diane. I mean, who's like, someone had, kind of described her before as like the mom of the group, and they hit it on the head, man. And John, like I tell you, man, I mean, first of all, his scents are amazing, and I feel like I'm pumping up all these other brands, but I want to. I mean, it's all good products. So you can't go wrong with any of these products, right?
Yeah.
John was really great coming up with his scents. He's got a fantastic lineup, and he just keeps coming up with new ones that are just as good and better. Celtic Tiger, freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And John has a marketing skill set that I could even dream about. And there's so much to be learned, and so much great stuff out there, and great people to know and work with, that honestly I wouldn't be in the space right now if it wasn't for the great people that the other makers that we talk and bounce ideas off of and share frustrations with and fix problems with each other. And I mean, it's the community itself. It's just a great bunch of people.
Um, Talking about Facebook groups here, besides the soap making dudes and
Mhm.
obviously your own, what
Yep.
like what other group would you recommend people to be a part of? That you feel like is really bringing value to the soap community.
It's hard to say because when I first started, there was only like two or three. And I think the most active one was the artisan soap, or
Yeah,
hand
reviews and
artisan something.
yeah,
Yeah. And that kind of splintered out into like three or four different groups. Then they've splintered again. So it's kind of like everybody's kind of all over the place now. I would say the best thing somebody could do as far as finding groups that they might like and might find the most value in is honestly just stay above the drama, let the garbage take itself out, and join all the groups if that's what you're interested in. Again, stay out of the drama and to just kind of, let the products, the good ideas, and just let the stuff come to you. Just you just keep an eye on all the groups, and there's something of value in all of them. Even ones that are practically dead right now, like soap making dudes, I don't see much anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a good bunch of dudes that just want to make soap. I mean, hell, you know what I mean? That's pretty cool.
I think you're right about like even some of those smaller groups, ones that aren't so active right now. There is like some good people that are chilling in those groups, and there is
Yeah.
value in them. Um, it's interesting how much drama comes from soap. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been involved with quite a bit of the soap drama in these groups, so I'm not like one to really talk on it because I've gotten sucked into this stuff, and I've definitely called out brands I didn't care for, or
Yeah.
ones that were lying about where they're making and getting their soap, and I try to stay
Sometimes,
out of it now.
yeah. I mean, sometimes, people that need to get punched show you their chin, and it's kind of tough to hold back.
Yeah,
But that being said, I mean, look, if you're part of all the soap groups and you want to experience it all, and people are out of stock here and there, and some people have the drop patterns or whatever. I would say don't be afraid to buy from other people secondhand. I mean, there are some soap makers, I won't say a lot, but there are some that are really, really protective about that. They don't want anybody selling soap on the side secondhand or whatever. I don't know why that's a problem, because it's more exposure for your brand. As long as you have a good product, or a product that you're proud of, there's just more people that are getting exposed to it.
yeah,
But I've met some cool people. I could think two or three off the top of my head. Guys that I have bought from when I wanted to try a certain thing that nobody had. You know what? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Well, you might get scammed is the worst you can have. But then, you do a legit check on somebody, and you buy from the reputable people, you might make a friend. Oh no.
yeah. Hey, I gotta give a quick shout out to that metal guy. I don't know if any of you guys are subscribed to his channel. He does some great reviews over there on beard products. And I don't know if he's going to be diving into some soap stuff, but I definitely like to hear his opinion on some soap scents in the future too. So, Stefan, what's up, man? Thanks for jumping on the stream.
So,
Um,
Stefan.
so, before we wrap this up, does anyone else have any questions or anything else they want to mention? We did get quite a bit of chats here, and I haven't been able to read all of them as we go along here. So, I'm going to kind of scan through this. See if there's anything else we need to touch base on. But I think
Yeah.
we've done pretty good, man. I mean, looking forward to your drop in about 6 days. You do have, like you said, a pretty ambitious lineup of new scents and some restock on your old scents.
Yep.
Um, is there any kind of like time frame for some other standard scents to get restocked for people that are looking for some of those?
Yeah, I think other than the hickory suede and bourbon wood that I restocked a little bit of for this run, I'm thinking, what is this, March, April, May, June? I'm thinking early July is probably going to be my next one. And I know that sounds way far off, but I kind of go by like a 3 month kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really only 3 months away. I mean, look, July is legit only like 3 months away. So, I mean, it's not, well, maybe three and a half at this point, but still. So I think somewhere around end of June, early July, I'll do another one. And yeah, I'll just put it out there. I haven't made any firm decisions yet because I got a couple scents that I want to play with. But Fields of Valhalla, in my mind, is a summer bar.
Yeah.
And my next drop is going to be in June or July. So don't think that I'm not thinking about that.
Okay. That's good. Any kind of hints towards new soap scents that you might be working on in that 4 month period?
Well, like I said, I got these two right here. I got this cinnamon clove ish type thing, and then I've got this smoky oud and bourbon. Um, there's a couple others that I've been thinking about cracking into, but I haven't really gotten far enough yet. Really, those are the only two that and I can't even guarantee that those are two that are going to be released, on my next drop. I might just end up making like 400 bars of Fields of Valhalla and just not have any time for anything else. I don't know.
That's what you guys get, and you're gonna enjoy it.
You're a one man show. You got to pick where you want me because you want me making all that Fields of Valhalla. I'm not R&D and other stuff. Is.
Well, awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on here and being a part of this first episode. I'd like to do a lot more of these with some other soap makers in the future. So, anyone who's got suggestions on more questions that we ask in the future, I'd appreciate that. Definitely go over and give Malarkys a try or give them some support if you're new to that and you haven't gotten to try this brand yet. I definitely want to. Man, I had it in my head what I was going to do, and I totally lost it. Just want to thank everyone for jumping on the stream tonight and showing some love out here.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody, James. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. For those that don't know, James reached out to me in my messenger chat and brought this up to me probably a month and a half ago. I was actually in freaking California for work. I was like, man, I can't do much right now, but I like the idea. So it kind of stuck in my head. So I reached out to him. Was it yesterday? I was like, hey, you want to do this thing? Okay. So, uh, you know what? I mean, figuring out a way to put it all together and ask a bunch of really good questions and organize the whole thing in like less than 24 hours notice. And if anybody thinks that's easy, it's not. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. This is like you said, this is actually. I have to give a quick shout out because doing these interviews was actually Andrew Saliski reached
Oh,
out to
really?
me about a year ago, and he wrote me and said you should do interviews. And I've been actually trying to work on this for a long time, and it's taken a year just to even like get it. And I've reached out to so many makers, and then I've fallen to the wayside. So you reaching out to me again kind of just kickstarted that, and I'm definitely thankful because hopefully this will keep some momentum, and we can maybe improve on these and keep these
Oh,
going,
yeah.
showing some spotlights, shining some
Yeah.
spotlights on some small creators and makers, and really improving the soap community.
Yeah, I think Andrew's overlooked a lot, but the reality is he's OG, man. I
Yeah,
mean, he might not have a huge presence on social media, but that doesn't matter. I mean, he definitely he knows what he's doing, and he's been in the game for a minute. So yeah, I mean, good. That's an awesome idea. So I'm glad he suggested it.
so all right, man, I think we're gonna wrap this up. Anything
All
else you
right.
want to shout out before we dip, or we think we're pretty good?
No, man. I mean, like I said, you got Friday, March 15th, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. I'm gonna go live. My last drop, no pressure. Last drop lasted about 40 hours. But don't let that scare you. Don't let that make you think, oh, I don't have a chance because I made a lot more this time. So I'm
Heck
determined to
yeah.
try to make it last a little bit longer. So, yeah, I mean, if you heard of us and us, me, if you've heard of Malarkys and you're thinking about giving it a shot, I'm telling you what, this new fragrance oil suppliers I found and these scents, like they've been blowing me away. And I've been making my soap for 2 years now. So I mean, this is the one. This is the one to get on and try. So hope to
Awesome.
see you.
All right, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Go over to the Malarkey Soap group and join if you haven't already. And we'll see you on the next soap adventure.
Take
Peace.
care, guys.